Well, Alex, the bottom line is it's over. Both of these cases are over. Yes, Evan's correct. Technically, they were filed without prejudice, which means theoretically they can be revived in 2029. That's not going to happen. Let's be realistic. Some prosecutor's not going to come in 4 and change years from now and revive these cases. For all intents and purposes, it's over. And it's really important to understand why Jack Smith is making these moves. He's not making them because Donald Trump has promised to fire him. He's making these moves because he has to. Under long-standing Justice Department policy that goes back to 1973, Jack Smith says, I asked DOJ to review that policy, and they confirmed to me that I cannot carry on with the prosecution of Donald Trump once he gets sworn in on January 20th. So this is really a result of DOJ's institutional policy and institutional interest.
All right, another Fox News alert just an hour after he sought to dismiss the election interference case against Donald Trump. Jack Smith has now filed a motion with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to dismiss the classified documents case against the former president.
And I'll jump in here. We've got some breaking news out of D.C. David Spunt reporting right now. Special Counsel Jack Smith is seeking to dismiss the Trump election interference case in Washington, D.C. We should note that this was expected. We've been reporting for a few weeks now that this would happen since the DOJ cannot prosecute a sitting president. Today, this news brings us one step closer to this case formally being dropped. The judge is going to need approval for this before anything is officially dismissed, as David's reporting, and that could come as soon as today. I believe David Spunt is up now. He's got this news for us. David.
Well, hey, Sandra, after almost 2 years of this Jack Smith saga, things seem to be ending for him. We just need the judge to sign off on it. After thousands of pages and hundreds of hours of interviews, it comes down to just 6 pages. Jack Smith, the special counsel, asking Judge Tanya Chutkan to dismiss this superseding indictment. This is the election interference case in Washington, D.C., where Donald Trump was charged with trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Ultimately, Smith says that DOJ does not prosecute sitting presidents. This never went to trial. It was supposed to go to trial earlier this year. That never happened. So he's asking to dismiss this case. Separately, we're waiting to see if and how he's asking to move forward in the documents case in Florida. Now, you may say that case was dismissed this summer, and that's true. It was dismissed this summer. However, Jack Smith, at the time, he didn't know Donald Trump was going to win, and he filed an appeal with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta. We're told that he's also going to be filing something soon, winding down that case as well. So as of now, these cases are not officially dropped yet, but Smith is asking Judge Chutkan, who's expected to move along with it, and say, okay, we're going to drop this case because we cannot prosecute a sitting president. Separately, if I may add, President-elect Trump said that he would fire Jack Smith within, quote, 2 seconds of taking office. It doesn't appear that the president-elect will even have the opportunity to do that, because we've been reporting for several weeks now that Jack Smith will be gone at that point on January 20th at noon. He will have stepped down. So at some point over the next several weeks, he's going to step down. They're going to close up the special counsel office.
Reaction
and this case will
to Jack Smith announcing that he will file to dismiss the charges in the election subversion case against former President Trump.
Well, look, I certainly understand why he did it, given the Department of Justice policy that you cannot prosecute a sitting president. I think it is a shame for justice in this country. It establishes that Donald Trump is above the law. The Supreme Court put him above the law in that opinion that Paula just mentioned. But now he appears to escape full accountability for what were crimes charged by a grand jury. And I would just add one other thing that we ought to pay close attention to. We cannot normalize the fact that Donald Trump, as the president-elect, should not be held accountable for crimes that he committed before. If he were to have fired the special counsel, that would be a gross abdication of the independence of the Department of Justice. And if the shoe were on the other foot, for example, and Joe Biden were to have fired David Weiss, who clearly had a politicized investigation because the House Republicans effectively scuttled a plea agreement, everyone would be up in arms. So let's make sure that we don't normalize Donald Trump's political partisan behavior that has no place under our rule of law.
Congressman, you know that the American people were well aware of the charges that Donald Trump was facing in this case and several others. What do you make of the argument that they essentially served as a jury, and by re-electing him and now making him president-elect, they have weighed in on these matters?
I don't give any credence to that argument. I think what was very clear is that people voted for Donald Trump because they thought that he was going to improve the lives of the middle class, and perhaps in addition that he would secure the border. They did not vote for him to dismantle our democracy, to attack the Constitution, to politicize all of our agencies, and certainly not as a referendum on his criminal cases. But I certainly don't think anything that came from the election was a reflection of support for Donald Trump getting rid of these cases, largely because the American people, as you and I as well, we don't know what the actual evidence is.
I see two major takeaways from this filing we just got from the DA. First of all, the DA is okay with adjourning this sentencing indefinitely, which means it will not happen before he takes office, if the judge agrees. Kara makes a very important point. This is just the DA's position. Ultimately, it's up to the judge. But the second thing that really jumps out at me is the DA in this letter says what you just said, Boris, about immunity, that it doesn't necessarily cover post-trial proceedings. And so the DA floats the possibility in their letter. They say we want to look into various options, including possibly having his sentencing happen in 2029 when he's done his second term as president. To me, that is a preposterous suggestion, just as a practical matter. You can't put off sentence 4+ years. I think Donald Trump would have a very strong argument when this day comes, when he's 82 years old and finishing up his second term, that's just too long to wait. But again, this is all unknown. This is all brand new. But I found that really interesting to see that the DA is actually floating the possibility of pushing sentencing till January 21st, I guess, of 2029.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what the